We start from the stage number 19. Here Jody, he has proceeded to the forest in search of the fawn. He waited for the sound of the hoofs to end, then cut to the right. The stub was still. Only his own crackling of the twigs sounded across the silence. There was all silence, only the crackling sound of the twigs was there. He wondered for an instant if he had mistaken his direction. Means here, this is the fear of a child. He was little bit afraid of that whether he was proceeding the right direction. Then a buzzard rose in front of him and flapped into the air. Buzzard is a large bird like the vulture that eats the flesh of the dead animals. Now here is a hint that he was proceeding to the right direction. Then a buzzard rose in front of him and flapped into the air. He came into the clearing under the oaks. There were all oaks surrounding him. Buzzards sat in a circle around the carcass of the doe. You might have seen this kind of scene in the forest or in movies. You might have watched in the movies because in real life we don't have to see such scenes. Now these buzzards and vultures, they used to eat the flesh. है ना? It might be human or animal flesh. ऐसा हमने movies में देखा है, जैसे ये show करते हैं that the director he when all vultures they are flying in the sky, so it is a hint that somewhere there is dead body in the evening. Now he came into the clearing under the oaks. Buzzards sat in a circle. What he saw, that buzzards they were sitting in a circle and carcass of the doe. Around the carcass is the dead body of the doe. They they turned their head. They turned their heads on their long scrawny necks and hissed at him. Now when he went closer, so they all observed him, hissed at him, because whenever these creatures or any creatures, they are busy in eating, so we should not disturb them. The sand showed large cat prints, but the big cats killed fresh, and they had left the doe in the final box. This earlier, some large cat might be the animals or tiger also, they can also be. They must have relished the flesh of this doe also. He parted the grass at the place where he had seen the fawn. It didn't seem possible that it was only yesterday. The fawn was not there. Now he was not able to see the fawn there. Naturally, there he might have got scared or left that place. He circled the clearing. There was no sound, no sign. The buzzards cracked their wings, impatient to return to their business. He returned to the spot where the fawn had emerged and dropped in hard folds, studying the sand for the small hoof prints. Now he tried to get the hoof prints of this fawn so that he could follow him, he could search for him. The night's rain had washed away all tracks except those of cats and buzzards. But he couldn't find the hoof prints of the fawn because the night rain it had washed away the tracks, the sign of the mark of the hoofs of this fawn. Movement directly in front of him startled him so that he tumbled backward. The fawn lifted its face to his. It turned its head with a wide wandering motion and shook him through with the stare of its liquid eyes. It was quivering. It made no effort to rise or run. Jody couldn't trust himself or movement directly in front of him startled him, but suddenly there was some movement. He tumbled backward. The fawn lifted the hunt. So movement directly in front of him, startled him. He came in front of the fawn, that he tumbled backward. He was little bit scared. The fawn lifted its face to his. It turned its head with a wide-wandering motion and shook him through with the stare of its liquid eyes. His eyes were full of liquid. He was very much scared. He was quivering. It quivering means shaking slightly. He was just like shaking. It made no effort to rise or run. Jody could not trust himself to move. Now Jody, he was very much concerned and aware to handle the situation. He whispered, "It's me." The fawn lifted its nose, scenting him. He treated out one hand and laid it on the soft. The fawn scented him. If you know, we usually, the animals, they smell the person. And I have come to know, or it is my own experience, that they can, by smelling only, they can just get the vibrations, the aura of the person. Now he lifted its nose, scented him. He came near him and smelled him. He reached out one hand and laid it on the soft. Now Jolly came near to him and touched on his soft neck. The touch made him delirious. Delirious, extremely excited. He just appreciated the touch, or he was just feeling, he was missing that touch. He was so scared because he had lost his mind. It moved forward in all fours. All fours are the 4 feet, fours of the thumb. He moved forward on all fours until he was close beside him. He put his arm around its body. Now he just embraced. Jody put his arm around its body. A light conversion is a shiver, passed over it, but it did not stay. He was shaking, he was trembling with fear, he was so scared. He dropped its sides as gently as though the fawn were a china door and he might break it. Now see the handling, the concern of the boy, that he handled the fawn like he was handling a china toy, very delicate toy. It was sleek and clean and had a sweet scent of nature, smell of nature. Here the author he has very nicely defined the senses of nature, the smell of nature, the scene of nature. It was sleek and clean and had a sweet scent of grass. He rose slowly and lifted the fawn from the ground. Its legs hung limply. He was surprisingly long and he had to hoist the fawn as high as possible under his arm. Naturally, that when it's standing on the ground, so it seems very small to Jody. But when he picked him up, so he was very sleek, slim, and long, having long legs. He was afraid that it might kick and bleed at sight. Now he felt that he was afraid that it might kick and bleed at sight and smell of its mother. Now he was aware also, Jody was much aware that this fawn he might smell because he was just getting, or he was just understanding through smell. It is shown in the scene. So boy was concerned that he might smell its mother also, dead mother also, because it was a very near spot. He skirted the clearing and pushed its way into the thicket. It was difficult to fight through with his burden. He was heavy for him. The fawn's legs caught in the bushes and he couldn't lift his own with freedom. It was not possible for him to lift the fawn easily. He tried to shield its face from prickling vines. He was covering He was just securing his face from the prickly vines also. He was so concerned. Its head bobbed with his stride, his heart thumped with the marvel of its acceptance of it because he was holding the farm close to his chest or heart. He could just feel its heartbeat. He reached the trail and walked as fast as he could until he came to the intersection with the road. Now he come to the spot which lead to the road which lead to his home. He stopped the rest. He stopped to rest and set the fawn down on its dangling legs. It wavered on them. It looked at him and now when he put him on the ground, he waited. Waited is a sound of the way of making sound of fawn or day. He said enchanted, I will carry you after I get my breath. He is taking rest. He just put the fawn to take a little rest. He remembered his father saying that a fawn would follow if it had first been carried. Now see, what we listen to attentively is definitely going to help us in life. It, this thing we have, this fact we have learned from many stories. That anything in that chapter also, that chapter of tsunami, the girl, what he heard in the class attentively that helped him in that disastrous situation. Now this boy, he recalled that his father used to say that a fawn would follow if it had first been carried. He started away slowly. The fawn stared after him. He came back to it and stroked it and walked away again. पहले उसने उसको फ्लोर पे ग्राउंड पे उसको नीचे रखा उसके बाद 2-4 कदम आगे गया फिर उसकी तरफ देखा मींस इन अ वे he was waiting first he was waiting that he will pick him up but when he the you know the creatures the animals they understand the things very easily. Now he started away slowly. The fawn stared after him. He came back to it and stroked it and walked away again. He was giving him, just asking him to follow him. He took a few wobbling steps toward him and cried piteously. Very innocent situation. He wanted him to pick him up. It was willing to follow him. It belonged to him. Means he does not want him that though that farm does not want Jody to leave him alone. It was willing to follow him. It belonged to him. It was his own. He was light-headed with his joy. Now he has no stress, no tension. He was light-headed. He wanted to fondle it, to run and romp with it, to call to it to come to him. He dared not alarm it. He picked it up, carried it in front of him over his two arms. It seemed to him that he walked without effort. He was comfortable to follow the boy. His arms began to ache and he was forced to stop again. When he walked on, the fawn followed him at once. He allowed it to walk a little distance, then picked it up again. Means he again and again he was showing some attachment, some affection to the fawn. Sometimes he is picking him up and sometimes he just allowed him to follow him. The distance home was nothing. He could have walked all day into the night carrying it and watching it follow. He was wet with sweat, but a light breeze blew through the June morning, cooling him. The sky was as clear as spring water in a blue channel. He came to the clearing. It was fresh and green after the night's rain. He fumbled with the latch and was finally obliged to set down the fawn to manage. Then he had an idea. He would walk into the house into Penny's bedroom with the fawn walking behind him. But at steps, the fawn barked and refused to climb up. He picked it up and went to his father. Penny lay his closed eyes. Is the boy here? He reached his home. Penny turned his head. Jody stood beside him. The fawn clutched hard against him. It seemed to Penny that the boy's eyes were as bright as fawns. There was brightness in the eyes of both the fawn and Jody. He said, I'm glad you found him. Jody then went to the kitchen. The fawn wobbled after him. A pan of morning's milk stood in the kitchen sink. Means there was milk which was to be served in the morning. The cream had risen on it. He skimmed the cream into a jug. He poured milk into a small gourd. Now gourd is the small shell of the coconut, you can say. He held it out to the fawn. It butted it suddenly, smelling the milk. He saved it precariously from spilling over the floor. It could make nothing of milk on the ground. He served her. You can see this picture. This is that card in which he served milk to the fawn. Jody then went to the kitchen. Yes. He saved it precariously from spilling over. He was a child, so he brought milk for this fawn in a jar. He dipped his finger in the milk and thrust them into Fawn's soft, wet mouth. Now see, nature is a great teacher. Nature itself teach the animals, teach how to feed their kids and all, and they learn on their own how to they search for their meals, what they have to eat and how to eat. But this child, this Fawn, he had not been with his mother, so he didn't know that how to take milk from this plant. अब उसने क्या किया जॉडी ने? He put his fingers in the fawn. He dipped his fingers in the milk and thrust them into Fawn's soft wet mouth. Finger dip करके उसने उसके मुंह के अंदर रखी. It sucked briefly. उसको taste करना. When he withdrew them, it bleated frantically and butted him. Now he is requesting him to give more milk. He dipped his finger again, and as the fawn sucked, he lowered them slowly into the milk. धीरे धीरे करके वो अपने हाथ को नीचे गाल तक लेके आया. The fawn blew and sucked and snooped. धीरे धीरे fawn को he got it that he has to take the milk from the cow. It stamped its small hoofs impatiently. As long as he held his fingers below the level of the milk, the fawn was content. It closed its eyes keenly. It was ecstasy to feel its tongue against his hand. Ecstasy is the extremity of delightness, of happiness. Its small tail flicked back and forth. The last of milk vanished in a swirl of foam and gush.